Your baby was sleeping through the night. Then, without warning, they weren't. No illness, no travel, no change in routine. Just a baby who suddenly wakes 3 times a night and takes 45 minutes to go back down, when 2 weeks ago they were sleeping 8 hours straight. This is a sleep regression, and the most important thing to understand about it is that it is not caused by something you did wrong. It is caused by something your baby's brain is doing right. In this video, you'll learn what sleep regressions actually are, why they happen, when to expect each one, and exactly how to get through them without dismantling the routine you've worked to build. If this channel is new to you, subscribe. We publish new videos every week on infant development and behavior based on current scientific evidence. Number 1, what a sleep regression actually is. The word regression implies going backward. In sleep regressions, nothing is actually going backward. The disruption is a side effect of the brain going forward, rapidly. Sleep regressions correspond to windows of accelerated neurological development. When the brain undergoes a significant reorganization, new motor skills being wired in, new cognitive capacities coming online, new social awareness emerging, the sleep architecture that was stable before that reorganization is temporarily destabilized. The brain is consuming more metabolic resources, processing more information, and operating in a higher state of activation than it was before the developmental leap. All of this affects sleep. The result is a baby who was sleeping well and suddenly isn't. More night wakings, shorter naps, more difficulty at sleep onset, more need for parental presence to return to sleep. The sleep that was there before has not been lost. The developmental process driving the disruption will run its course, and sleep will consolidate again on the other side. Understanding this distinction, regression as a symptom of progress, not a problem to fix, changes the entire approach. You are not troubleshooting a broken routine. You are maintaining a solid routine through a temporary neurological storm. Number 2, the 4-month regression. The 4-month regression is the most significant sleep regression of the first year, and it is the only one that involves a permanent change to sleep architecture, rather than a temporary disruption. Before 4 months, infant sleep cycles through 2 stages, active sleep and quiet sleep. Around 3 to 4 months, the brain permanently reorganizes the system into a multi-stage architecture that more closely resembles adult sleep, with light sleep, deep sleep, and REM distributed across a longer, more complex cycle. This reorganization is not reversible. The baby does not go back to the simpler 2-stage system after the regression passes. The practical consequence is that babies who were sleeping long stretches before 4 months often begin waking more frequently after this point. Not because something broke, but because the new sleep architecture includes more transitions through lighter sleep stages. At each of those transitions, the baby surfaces into a lighter state and looks for the conditions that were present when they first fell asleep. If those conditions involved being held, fed, or rocked to sleep, the baby will signal for them again at each transition. This is why the 4-month regression does not fully resolve for all babies without some adjustment to sleep onset conditions. The architecture has changed permanently, and the old sleep associations may no longer be compatible with it. What to do? If your baby is 4 months old and sleep has significantly worsened, expect the disruption to last 2 to 6 weeks. Maintain your routine. Keep wake windows consistent. If the baby is still waking very frequently after 6 weeks, consider gradually adjusting how sleep onset happens. Specifically, working toward putting the baby down drowsy but awake so they develop the capacity to complete sleep onset independently. Number 3, the 8 to 10 month regression. The 8 to 10 month regression is driven by one of the most concentrated periods of motor and cognitive development in the first year. During this window, most babies are learning to crawl, pull to stand, and cruise along furniture. Simultaneously, the brain is undergoing major advances in object permanence, the understanding that objects and people continue to exist when out of sight, and in spatial reasoning. The motor component is particularly relevant to sleep. When a baby is actively acquiring a new motor skill, the brain rehearses that skill during sleep. Crawling patterns, standing sequences, and balance adjustments are processed and consolidated during the night. This neural rehearsal increases brain activation during sleep, which produces lighter, more fragmented sleep and more frequent surfacing. The cognitive component produces a different but equally disruptive effect: separation anxiety. Object permanence cuts both ways. A baby who now understands that you continue to exist when you leave the room also understands that you are somewhere else, and that understanding activates the attachment system. Bedtime becomes harder because the baby now fully grasps that you are leaving. What to do? Maintain the routine. For separation anxiety at bedtime, a brief but consistent goodbye sequence. The same words, the same physical gesture, every night, gives the baby a predictable endpoint to the separation rather than an open-ended one. Do not extend the routine in response to protest. A longer goodbye does not reduce separation anxiety. It increases it by extending the threshold moment. Number 4, the 12-month regression. The 12-month regression coincides with one of the most dramatic developmental transitions of the first 2 years, the emergence of walking, the explosion of receptive language, and the beginning of expressive communication. The motor demands alone are significant. Learning to walk is metabolically and neurologically expensive. The brain is simultaneously mapping new balance systems, refining motor sequencing, and integrating vestibular, proprioceptive, and visual input in new ways. This level of neural construction activity affects sleep quality in the same way the motor development at 8 months does, through increased brain activation and more fragmented sleep architecture. The language component adds a second layer. Around 12 months, the brain undergoes a rapid expansion of the neural networks linking sound, meaning, and social context. Receptive vocabulary, the words the baby understands, expands sharply. First words begin to emerge. This language processing happens partly during sleep, which again increases neural activity during rest periods. A common feature of the 12-month regression is nap disruption. Many babies this age begin resisting one of their 2 naps, usually the morning nap. This is not always a sign that the baby is ready to drop to 1 nap. More often, it is a temporary regression artifact. Dropping the morning nap too early in response to this resistance frequently produces an overtired baby and worsens nighttime sleep. Hold 2 naps until the resistance is consistent and sustained over several weeks, not just during the regression window. What to do? Maintain 2 naps if at all possible. Keep the bedtime routine intact. Expect the regression to last 2 to 4 weeks and resolve as the new motor and language skills consolidate. Number 5, how to hold the routine through any regression. The most damaging thing that happens during a sleep regression is not the regression itself. It is the decisions parents make in response to it. A baby who is falling asleep independently begins waking frequently. The parent, exhausted and wanting the situation to resolve quickly, begins feeding to sleep again, bringing the baby into the adult bed, or holding the baby through every sleep cycle. These responses end the immediate crisis. They also rebuild sleep associations that the baby had previously outgrown, and those associations will need to be worked through again once the regression passes. The principle is this: do the minimum necessary to get everyone through the night without introducing new sleep associations that did not exist before the regression. If the baby was falling asleep independently before the regression, prioritize returning them to that condition as quickly as possible. Not immediately, because the heightened need during a regression is real and responding to it is appropriate, but without allowing a temporary response to become a permanent new condition. Keep wake windows consistent throughout the regression. Sleep pressure management does not stop being relevant because the baby is in a regression. In fact, overtiredness during a regression makes the disruption significantly worse. An overtired baby in a developmental leap is the most difficult sleep situation of the first year. Keep the bedtime routine intact. The condition sequence that you have built, the association between the routine and sleep onset, is one of the most protective factors you have during a regression. Every night that the routine runs as normal, even if sleep after it is disrupted, reinforces that association and shortens the path back to baseline once the regression resolves. Expect the regression to end. Every regression documented in the developmental literature resolves. The 4-month regression resolves in 2 to 6 weeks. The 8 to 10-month regression resolves in 2 to 4 weeks. The 12-month regression resolves in 2 to 4 weeks. These are not open-ended disruptions. They have timelines. Holding the routine through the timeline is the entire strategy. Sleep regressions feel like setbacks. They are not. They are evidence that your baby's brain is doing exactly what it should be doing, on exactly the schedule it should be doing it. Your job during a regression is not to fix the sleep. Your job is to hold the structure that good sleep will return to when the developmental storm passes. The free guide in the description maps out developmental milestones across the full first year, including the windows when each regression is most likely to occur and what developmental changes are driving each one. Download it and use it as your reference. The next video covers how to stimulate your baby's speech before their first birthday. 5 specific strategies backed by language development research. Watch it next.